Today we'll be talking about competitive programming versus development, and so this is a really furious topic, and people are on both sides trying to figure out what is best for them, and some people completely go on to one side, and some people just maintain balance between the two. So the first point I would say is that if you are trying to start with development, I would recommend you to first start or explore CP a bit, and then go into development, because the experiences you gain in CP, I think the art of problem solving is really important in development. And if you face any problems that you have not seen before, I think competitive programming would really help you in that part. So we all have to agree at a point that competitive programming has become a trend nowadays in India, especially, maybe because the hike in the level of interviews and the standard of interview questions. I think the people who are furiously practicing competitive programming are able to crack huge interviews, and many big tech companies also ask really hard questions that so that competitive programming needs to be used there. So yeah, so that's one thing. And it's not that everyone have to follow computer programming and you have to completely ignore development, because what I feel is that once you when you start doing computer programming and you do that for, let's say, 4 to 5 years, and you actually don't learn the art of software development, because the core part of software development is creating products that we can help um, to other people. We can create products that people use really in real life, obviously. So we can say that CP does not help in that portion, because we can't ship this as a software, and we can't reuse, let's say, your code. Once you have written a piece of code, let's say you have solved a problem, so the next thing you'll do is move to next problem. You won't be reusing that problem, right? So maybe you may be using that algorithm or the data structure you have used there, but I don't think you'd be using the problem more than, let's say, X times. So you actually don't need to be fair. So that's not the part in development. So in development, you actually need to follow best practices, so as to know that you are going to use the things you are writing. Another fact is that competitive programming is really hard, and it has a steep learning curve, first of all. So I would say, if anyone is getting started with competitive programming, I think it takes a lot of perseverance and patience to get at least to a level where you can identify what type of problem is that. And at that stage, when you dive into development, I think everything seems so easy, and everything feels like it's going to so smooth. So that's the advantage of doing CP and then going into development. Even CP has a steep learning curve. Over time, I think it gets flat and it becomes boring, because you would be able to identify every kind of problem that you're facing, and get to a solution in some time. So at that point, I think there's no more use of CP. You can get into development or some sort of thing, because if you really want to develop something, and if you really want to make something that people want to use, I think it's really important that you're going to be into development for a particular amount of time, because it takes time to get good in development, and it takes time to get good in development more than it takes time to get good in CP. So um, that's kind of seems unusual, but that's true, because in CP there's definitely a solution for a problem in computer programming, but in development there's nothing of that kind. There is no there's no perfect solution for this problem. Problems arise from anywhere. Problems arise due to the fact that you have made some error in the previous block of code. So if anything can happen in development, and that's kind of real life thing, because in real life we can't expect the every solution for every problem, but we try to solve, or maybe find a shortcut in order to solve that problem. Most people think that development is easy in the sense that you don't need to think that much to arrive at a solution, but I think that kind of gets harder and harder when you reach at a level that the server load has to be maintained, and database has to be maintained at some kind of load. We call that scalability, and you have to write scalable code first of all, even before thinking about maintaining that. So I think that's the hardest part of software engineering, handling scalable code. That's the challenges that the software engineering has for you that CP does not, because you have to do that for a long period of time, not just for a short period of time. Let's say in computer programming, you do that for a set of there's time, and you have to solve the problems in that time. So there's nothing that sort of that kind for development, because when if the server is up and if you want it to be running, if you want the site to be up, it's like you want to keep solving problems until you don't want the server to be down. So that's kind of seems hard, but yeah, that's what software engineers do. So as I said, the most important thing that people do computer programming is for interviews. So the big tech companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, or any some sort of company, they ask really hard questions, and having computer programming experience is not mandatory, but I think it really helps a lot to people. And at least to people whom I have met, I think computer programming has helped them a lot in interviews. So one main difference between computer programming and software development is the change that you need to face. So what I mean by that is in software development you have to really be updated about what you are doing. Because if you take in case of JavaScript, every library is popping up at some point right now, and in computer programming I don't think that's the case, because an algorithm is like years old, and you don't need to learn an algorithm like every 10 days or so. But I think there would be a day like you have to learn an X library at some point in your life, and it happens, let's say, every 15 days, because you would need that library for some problem you're solving, and you need to know that kind of depth with the library you are going to use. The algorithm that you use in computer programming, people don't use that often in software development. For example, let's say you have implemented some shortest path in computer programming. um, I, I, I don't think I have ever seen people using a shortest path in development. It's really, really rare. And at least for short projects or any small projects, I think these kind of algorithms are not going to be used. So that's like it's like a trade-off between computer programming and development. You need to have a great balance between these two. You need to have the experience of a computer programmer, and you need to have the exposure of a software developer. And because the rest of the life, let's say after you get a job, you're going to be doing a software engineering. Most of the people, at least they do that, and you're not going to be doing computer programming all as a full time, let's say. You can do as a hobby, but most people after job just leave computer programming. And if that's the case, I think software development needs more focus so that we can build more reliable products and more creative products out there. Even if you're a computer programmer and you have got the job, let's say you have got the job in some big tech company, and I think after that you're going to be doing software development, right? So at some point of your life you're going to be needing to learn software development. And I think that's the fact that you have to accept. And at least it's not for that top computer programmers in the world, who win prizes and earn money via, let's say, Google Code Jam or Facebook Hackathon. And another thing to add here is that the feeling that you have between these two, when a solution gets accepted in computer programming, I think it gives a let's say a push, an adrenaline push in your within you, and I think that's a great feeling. And with software development, I think when people start to use a product and you see your product scale, so I think that's a really, really great feeling. And it tends to be more longer. It tends to stay more longer than the problem getting accepted, because after getting accepted you move on to the next problem. But with the product scaling every day and more people using every day and getting really beautiful comments like it saved their time and it saved their life. So comments like that, it really makes you wonder the purpose of software development and why you are actually doing software development. So that's a great feeling, I would say. So if you want to get started with computer programming, there are a few sites on. I think most of you would know this. The most famous one is Codeforces here, and Codeforces is the first one, and CodeChef is the second one. I think these both are most used by competitive programmers, and you can start solving problems. You can go to the problem set and you can sort by the number of people using solve the problem, and you can start solving them. And you slowly would grab these the problems, and you would start seeing the patterns in them. This if you go here and sort the problems by number of people solved by clicking this green icon, and you can just solve one by one. And also it has the different topics which the problem needs as a prerequisite to solve that. And with CodeChef, actually CodeChef is very good at conducting long challenges and short challenges. Like there's long challenge which tends to go up to 10 days, and the short challenge, like it happens like every um, twice a month, I think. It goes like 2.5 hours and 10 days. So that's great if you want to solve problems at the same time achieve rank. If you want to contribute to open source packages, each of these package is open source, and you can contribute to that open source project and make that product even better. So it's like the code you use or the product you use has your contribution in it. So I think that's a great feeling when you do that. And GitHub, of course, is the most visited place by any software engineer who's trying to contribute to open source. Thank you for watching, and if you really like this video, please like, share and subscribe, and let's meet in the next video.